the fiery Mars meets Rahu. Let's talk about that today. Hello everybody, I'm Tina Chaudhary. Welcome to my channel and a very warm namaste. On February 22nd, Mars transited into the next house, which was the house of Taurus, and guess who was waiting there for him? It was Rahu, our very obsessed, very aggressive, very competitive Rahu. And both of these energies of Mars and Rahu are very aggressive, very fiery energies. So when both of these planets come together, they form a yoga called Angarak Yoga. Angarak in the Hindi language means embers or sparks from the fire. Obviously, you can understand that this is going to create a very dynamic, a very explosive combination. Now, what does this combination mean in general terms? Of course, there's going to be a fierce battle for the land. Taurus signifies a land or real estate because it's an earth sign. They're going to fight for space, and they're going to fight to see who wins the house, the space of the house. In order to understand this yoga or this conjunction very well, we need to understand the significations of all these aspects that are putting it together. Mars is considered the army general of a birth chart. What is the role of an army general? It fights. It fights to protect its land, its country. A country is represented by land. So an army general will fight and do anything it wants to do or needs to do to protect its country or its land. It fights hard. It has a lot of courage. It's very fiery. It has a lot of determination. It's a warrior planet. Basically, it's a warrior planet, and it's represented by fire. Rahu is considered an invader because it's considered a foreigner. It's also very obsessive compulsive, and it likes to expand itself. So it likes to expand where it's at, and it likes to grow and get out of the boundary. It's a planet that likes to grow out of the box, out of the boundary. So it likes to just expand wherever it's at. It's also an air planet, or a planet that's represented by the air. Taurus is an earth element, so it's represented by land, and also represents food and our eating habits and our speech. Mercury represents speech, but sometimes because Taurus is the second house, it also can represent our speech. Now, this is the perfect setup for a battlefield, because here's the land and here's Mars, which is the soldier or the army general, wants to protect its land, and here's Rahu, the foreigner, that comes in and says, well, I can expand in here and take over this land as well. This is going to be a fierce battle, which means conflicts, disagreements, shooting at each other. I mean, literally, if you were to imagine a scene in a movie, you can see where two planets are fighting against each other. There's fire and there's disturbed energy. So basically, from a planetary perspective, if you look at it, it's extremely disturbed energy. It's energy that's combative against each other. And it's energy that calls for violent clashes. Now, the one more thing we have to consider, which is very important, is that Mars is a fire sign and Rahu is an air sign. We all know that in order to make the fire burn brighter or bigger, you fan it, which means you give it more air. Hence, these two planets, when they come together, will make the fire burn brighter, bigger, and more explosive. And a lot of times it gets out of hand if you give it too much air, as we all know. Now, it's safe to assume at this point that no matter where this conjunction falls in our birth chart, there will be conflicts, there will be disagreements, there may be battles or fights. And unless we control it and stop talking, which is air, we control this air element, it will get out of control quite easily. Hence, it's very important to know, based on the predictions on the ascendants that I'm going to do, it's very important to know where this is going to fall in our birth chart, so we're able to control ourselves and not let things go out of hand by the time this whole thing is over. So stay tuned for my predictions on all my ascendants, so you know where you're going to have to control yourself and watch for certain things. Mars moved into Taurus on February 22nd, and it's slowly progressing towards through the house. It will be completely out of Taurus on April 16th. But there's a couple of dates in there, which is March 27th, 28th, and 29th, where as it's approaching or moving through the house of Taurus, it gets completely conjunct with Rahu on March 27th, 28th, and 29th. these are very critical dates because, as I described the battle scene, these two warring planets are going to be extremely conjunct, very close to each other. And now you can just imagine two people that are fighting are nose to nose with each other, and how much that explosive energy or how violent that energy can become. As people are further apart that are having a fight, the fight could still be controlled. But as they get closer and become very close to each other physically, the battle can get explosive and out of hand very quickly. These are the 3 dates that are going to be very careful, and we all need to watch for them because they may all have an impact on all our lives in the world, especially in the world. Now, what could possibly happen or occur in the world when this conjunction happens for these number of days? Because the earth is involved and fire is involved, there's a possibility that there's fire or earth natural disasters that relate to the earth as well as where the fire is involved. There's also chances of other accidents and mishaps relating to fire. So we have to be very careful around our homes where we're dealing with fire or working with fire. You have to be very careful during this time. So there's a definite possibility of accidents relating to fire. Driving. Also, I think we should all be very careful when we drive, make sure you're very careful and take care when we're doing that, things relating to fire, because things can go out of hand very quickly. Rahu is a significator of sudden events. So, somebody could be doing something where they think nothing's going to happen and suddenly things change. So make sure you're very careful around fire, driving and stuff like that. I think you should be very careful about that. The other element is of conflict and disagreements. So a distinct possibility of conflicts, disagreements between groups of people. Again, I'm saying, as in my prior December video, I'm saying that the protests between groups of people, mobs against each other, fighting between different sects of people or groups of people is a definite possibility, because Mars also represents anger, violent anger. So there's definitely a possibility of violent anger, people on the streets and doing all that, because Mars represents the professions that wear the uniform. It could be, cops, it could be the army, and firemen. So those are going to be more involved in all of these incidents that take place. So there's distinct possibility that incidents of anger, disruption, conflict, disputes, and all that occurring, especially around those critical dates. But definitely the whole conjunction, it could happen anytime, but those 3 dates are very critical. Also disputes or disagreements between countries is possible. Now, anything that involves two groups or two people relationships, there's a possibility of disagreements that get out of hand very quickly, that nobody thought would happen, because Rahu, like I said, indicates sudden events that you never thought would happen or didn't even think would get so out of control. So, you definitely have to watch for that. Again, in your own behavior, I think we all should be very careful of how we are, because you could say one thing to somebody and then all of a sudden the fight gets out of control. Watch all your own behavior it could just be something that gets out of control very quickly, because remember, we're talking about Rahu. Rahu just comes out of nowhere and starts something very explosive very quickly. So make sure you're very careful about what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're behaving, and keep that in mind for the whole conjunction period, especially also because Taurus represents your finance. I would definitely not do anything but make any important decisions regarding finance at this time. Investments, especially those 3 days, the 27th, 28th, and 29th, are very critical days. You just don't know what's going to happen. I would just sit tight regarding making any important financial decisions. I think this is a really bad time to do that. So I would make that suggestion to everybody. But in general, I think that we should watch ourselves, our behavior, because, very quickly we could become Mars-like and start fighting over something. Now I'll go on to do my predictions for the ascendants. I'm only going to do one-line predictions this time because it's, I'm already late with my video, but I'm still going to do them, and they're going to be one-liners. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so Aries, This is happening in your 12th house. This is not good for you. So family and finance, make sure you stay good with your family and don't touch your finance. Be very careful about your investments. So and take care of your family. No disputes there. Your second ascendant is Taurus. Now, Taurus, this is happening in your ascendant. As I mentioned, it's Taurus. So you may feel most of the impact. So make sure you take very good care of your health. Mentally, you may feel a little unsettled and you may feel like you want to fight with everybody. Just control the urge to do that, please, and take very good care of your health. Make sure you know what you're eating, you know what your eating habits. The third one is Gemini. Gemini, this is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house represents your expenses. You may be very prone to wasteful spending, and so you need to curb your inclination to do that. Make sure you don't overspend, because again, Taurus, finance. So you're going to try and want to buy everything in sight. Now, Cancer, this is in your 11th house. This is actually a good placement for you. So there's a couple of few ascendants that it's actually good for. Cancer is good for you. So 11th house, you may be offered a lot of financial opportunities. So make sure you think through them and you pick the right one. So this is actually a good placement for you. Leo, this is happening in your 10th house. This is a good place for this transit to happen. So 10th house is your house of career and profession. So you may be very ambitious. You may want to think of ways to grow your career, and that actually may happen. So make sure you think about it, think about ways to advance your career, do good things for your career. Just be very precautionary about all the other things I said, don't get into disputes, but otherwise it's a good placement for your career. You could do good things if you put your mind to it. So it's a good placement for you guys. The next one is Virgo. It's happening in your 9th house. Now, this is decision making. Make sure you are very careful about who you listen to and you take your help or guidance from. Maybe you need to think about things before you just listen to everybody and do what they're saying. So you think through things yourself and make your own decisions, but very carefully. Libra, this is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house represents transformations of some kind. All of a sudden, you may feel the urge to do something completely different, or transform yourself, or change something about yourself. But it also has to do with relationships, not good things about relationships. So think through them before you make any decisions regarding transforming yourself or making changes in your relationships. I think you should really think about that. The next one is Scorpio. Scorpio, this is happening in your 7th house. The 7th house represents your partner, business and professional partners. Be very careful how you handle them and what you say to them. There could be a lot of conflict. There could be a lot of disagreements, but it's better to just keep quiet right now and let the time pass, because you may make decisions that are maybe not turn out to be good for you, but you're doing them without thinking at this time. So let the time pass before you make any decisions or you say stuff to people. Things will get very quickly very out of hand. So make sure you think through things before you say something or make decisions about your partnerships. The Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius, you're one of the ascendants that this is actually good for, because it's in your 6th house. The 6th house is, fight against enemies, fight oppositions, win legal battles or something like that. So this is going to be a good transition for you. Mars is a good planet for you. So good luck and enjoy the transition. But again, you still need to watch all the other things that I said. So don't go crazy about that. But it's a good transition for you. The next one is Capricorn. Now, Capricorn, this is happening in your 5th house. The 5th house represents your children. So no disagreements with your children. Don't argue with them. Just let them say what they want to say and just let the time pass and be on the milder side with them. Don't kind of poke and let things get out of hand. The other thing it might be is that, because 5th house also represents your creativity and your fun factor. So, you may question, is this the right way to have fun, or what about my creativity? And you may be feeling very dissatisfied with your own creativity and the feeling of maybe, not feeling so good about yourself and your luck factor. So, or your fun factor, and say, well, I'm not having fun and this and that. So just watch for that. Time will pass. It's not such a big deal. Aquarius, this is happening in your 4th house. complete lack of happiness within your household. So the fourth house represents your household and your inner happiness. Definitely you will not be feeling happy right now. You're just walking around struggling with yourself, going, why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? So your struggle and your disagreement is mostly within yourself, not somebody outside. And you may try to find happiness within your household and think that I'm not happy here. Well, this too shall pass. Try to find happiness and just know that this is going to pass, and this is why you're struggling mentally. So this too shall pass. So at least you're not fighting with other people like some of the other ascendants are. So this too shall pass. Try. One of the best things you can do is do some meditation. So because this is all about you and your own mental peace. Last but not the least, Pisces. Now Pisces, this is good for you because the third house. Now the third house is our courage, our determination, our ability, strong ability to want to do things and accomplish things. And Mars is just that. So Mars likes being in the third house. So and the Rahu actually performs really well in the third house. So actually, this is a good transition for you. Take on whatever you need to get done. Make sure you do it. You have the hard work, the determination and courage to accomplish what you want to do. It will get done. So make sure you do all that. Of course, take all the precautions that I said. Don't get into it with people, but work on, make sure you have the hard work, perseverance and courage, and make sure you complete your goal. Now, if you've liked this video, please give it a like. This video is very important to be shared with all your friends and family because they need to be aware of this time that's a little challenging for all of us. So make sure, do them a favor and share this video with everybody, and make sure you subscribe to my channel, please. I really need you guys that are watching. There's lots of people watching, but not enough people that are subscribing. Please do subscribe to my channel. Somebody asked, is it free? Of course, subscribing to my channel is absolutely free. All you do is get notification of when my next video is out. So my next video is going to be one of the most interesting videos, and so make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thank you.